up, artists? My name is Samantha, and today I will be sharing my AP portfolio with you. So let me tell you a little bit about my portfolio. I scored a 4 out of 5 on the exam. Initially, I was really nervous about submitting my portfolio, but my AP teacher thankfully convinced me and got me past my hesitation. I'm really happy I submitted my portfolio to the College Board now because now I can get college credit for my work. I really encourage all of you to submit your portfolio to the College Board, even if you're nervous, even if you don't know how it's going to go, because it gives you a chance to get that college credit as well. In total, even though you're supposed to do 20 pieces of art, well, you have 5 for your selected works and then 15 for your sustained investigation. I was only able to complete 9 completed works for my sustained investigation. My sustained investigation topic was on racial discrimination. In general, I think that this topic is very interesting because the idea of one group of people thinking that they're superior to another group of people. And when I hear this topic of racial discrimination, what comes up the most is the Black Lives Matter movement. And in general, I have seen a lot of AP portfolios that are on the topic of the BLM movement or just African American discrimination in general. I thought all of this was very interesting, but I wanted to push the idea even further. So the goal of my artwork was to look at all of racial discrimination as a concept, to observe the causes behind it and understand the fundamental psychology. Therefore, I made my inquiry question, why do individuals racially discriminate? And what factors help people understand that prejudice is unjust? After conducting my SI, I came to the conclusion that racial discrimination is caused by greed, generational conflict, a lack of self-reflection, and the desire for uncontrolled social status and power. People move away from racial discrimination through interracial marriages, religious worship, and childlike unity. Alright, so art piece number 1. Unfortunately, I do not have the actual piece. That's why I can only show you that picture. But this is the first one that I did, and out of all of my pieces in my portfolio, I hated this one the most. I actually threw it away. I was trying to achieve some depth, but it didn't really work because I couldn't establish the lighting the right way inside of the box. And if I would have done this again, I would have added more shading to the face, and I would have put more drawings, some kind of detail, something more interesting on the inside of the box. I used my sketchbook to draw out the concept behind the piece, but I really wish I had done more detailed drawings on how the artwork was actually going to look and how I wanted to make it. I just feel overall I didn't plan very well for the piece. This is the second piece that I had in my portfolio, and I'm a lot more proud of it. It was actually inspired by the scripture 1 Timothy 6:10, which states that, the love of money is the root of all evil. And I took this very literally. I decided to draw, money growing on the tree, and the roots are entangled with like skulls to represent dead African American slaves who grew the Caucasian farming industries in the 17th and 19th century. In the background you have like a freed slave about to chop down the trees, and this symbolizes the end of this kind of systematic unjust system of slavery. This piece was one of the most well thought out in my portfolio. I experimented with texture, using aluminum and foil, painting the paper in a way that made it curl for the roots, and then having the concepts clearly shown through the composition. I prepared really well for the piece. I did many aluminum trees, and I did detailed plannings of what I was going to do. And that being said, I want you all to know that the more detailed planning that you do in your sketchbooks and in different types of planning, the better that your final work is gonna be. This next piece here is called The Great Race. The cars at the top, on the top of the hill here, represent privilege, wealth, and high social status, while the car on the bottom over here represents poverty due to discrimination. The flag is a reminder that the subject of this piece is about race against the race, you know, like a race against this discriminated group. And this was my first time drawing cars, and they came out pretty good. My teacher always reminded me to shade everything in, but I'm really light-handed, so I think I could have done a better job. And I would have practiced drawing more shadows in cars to achieve a more realistic aesthetic. This is the next piece, my essay number 4, and I called it Savage because, you know, they're killing each other. And it's more about, you know, tribal discrimination than racial discrimination, but I was just studying a little bit about Native American history and the tribes, and it was interesting to me. So a lot of Native American tribes had discrimination against one another because of wars and murders that happened from generation to generation. This piece depicts the cycle of revenge using patterns with the green and yellow to indicate fighting between the two tribes. And you can actually like hang this one up. It's actually, I really like this one. So I used outlines and a brown background. I was trying to create like a primitive style of art, and I folded the paper in the front and I taped it. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of like shiny, but I painted over it. You can see it more in some areas. And I was trying to create dimension for the piece. If I had done this differently, I would have made everything look flatter, just flat. Like, I really wanted like a simple kind of art style, but it still has some dimension, so I would try to make like the people here look more flat, and try to find a way to make this, like, you see how it's bending in? I really don't like that. That wasn't what I was trying to do. I would try to make it look straight, and yeah, it's kind of bending, so I don't like that. This is SI number 5, and it's called Red Only. It's about racial discrimination caused by a lack of self-reflection. The red people in this picture, you know, they're keeping out the people who are blue, and they think that they're better than them just because of their, you know, their color. But, you know, in the water here, you can see that, like, in the reflection, they're just like the blue people. Like, they literally have the same reflection. And this shows that, you know, they really are blind to this fact, and that's the only reason that they keep them out. It was done using a printed out photograph, and I put it in the background. It's kind of like the center, it's like a square, if you can kind of see it. And this was pretty cool, except it made it really difficult for me to blend it into the part of the background that I just painted, which is basically everything around that center. And this is an example of an art technique that would be a lot better for a digital art, because you know, you have the software right there, and yeah, so that was something that could have been improved. This piece is my essay number 6, and I call it Love Rising. I used watercolors for the sunset, and it was a really bold move for me because, look, I don't use watercolors, okay? I just, like, they're hard for me. And I'm always watching these really nice YouTube videos of people making watercolor sunsets. So I decided, what the heck, I'll just use it, use that knowledge. And so I decided to make my own watercolor sunset background. It was really difficult, but yeah. Whew. And this piece here, whew, this is, I think, besides the money tree, was big. It's like really big. So this one is called the chapel ceremony, and it was done using pastels, and I used pen and marker, and it was really difficult for me to like make these geometric shapes and everything, but you just take your time with it, and I really am satisfied with how it turned out. And my goal was to make it resemble the style of like chapel stained glass windows, and I think I partially accomplished that, so I'm happy. So as you can see, both of these pieces were about interracial marriage, and honestly, the topic of interracial marriage could turn into a sustained investigation within itself. I'm really glad that I came across the topic. The thing that stood out to me about those last two pieces is that they had the best sketchbook planning. I did practice pictures. I wrote down, what colors I was going to use. I explained how it related to my SI, and I even, showed what materials I was using. I even did reference images to make both of them. So I think that's why they turn into two of the most strongest pieces in my portfolio. So this is SI number 8, and it is about childlike unity. It's always so cool to me to see how kids will just make friends with almost anyone, no matter how they look. And I wanted to depict this unity in the picture with kids just putting a puzzle of the world back together again. The charcoal got smudged in some of the areas, so it makes it look like kind of messy, and the light coming from the kids didn't really achieve the glowing effect that I was going for. And this is another example of something digital art would easily fix. So yes, I'm trying to get on that digital art skills. And if I did this again, I would have studied more anatomy to make the kids look more realistic, because I wasn't going for this cartoony look that I have here. The last picture that I showed you was called Light of the World. This is called High Praise, and it is my 9th and final piece in my SI investigation, and there are many different colored hands to represent different people worshiping in the Christian faith. Faith has been a notorious force that has brought different ethnicities together, different faiths of course, but this is on Christian faith. And as much as I like this picture and the concept, I feel that the art is very, very weak, because it just didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Like, there's a lot of fuzziness around the hands, and I have these lines, but the outlines aren't very strong, and I just feel like the color palette could be a little better. So yeah, but it is what it is. Lastly, we can discuss what art I used for my selected works. 3 of my selected works were from my portfolio. I decided to use The Last Money Tree, Love Rising, and the Chapel Ceremony, because those were the 3 from my portfolio, from my SI part of my portfolio, that I felt were the strongest pieces. And at that point I didn't really have time to make anything else, so yeah. So you can use your SI pieces for your selected works if you need to. I also used 2 other pieces for my selected works that were just things that I did in the past, and so I did this collage, and I just really liked it. I really like this collage, and it's just showing like it's an expression of like tranquility and just feelings of peace and relaxation. All that blue, that color is associated with that, and like having bits and pieces of things associated with relaxing and self-care. So I decided to include this one, and it has really nice, like, really nice edges and everything. So I thought it was a good piece, and also to show that I can do a collage. If I need to, I'll do a collage, you know what I'm saying. And the last thing that I put in my selected works was this graphite still life, and I put this in there solely to just show my technical drawing skills, and to show off my ability to use graphite to shade realistically. Those were my SI pieces and my selected works. I hope that this shows you that you can get a high score on your portfolio with any art style, any subject, and any media of your choice. Just make sure that you have an original SI, that you have art pieces with a strong connection to that SI. Make sure that it shows evidence that you planned out how you were going to make those pieces, and make sure that you execute it in the best quality that you can. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know which art piece was your favorite in the comments down below. Keep dreaming big, keep living bold, and keep on creating. I'll see you next time. Bye!